The strings groaned beneath her fingertips, the sound echoing softly through the broken ribs of Station Delphi 6. Eni Solari played in the dark. Not for an audience, there was no one left for that, but because silence had weight, and music made it lighter. The lute's wooden body was cracked, its tuning faded like the rest of her memories, but it still sang. Just enough. The notes floated around her like dust motes in low gravity. Each one tasted like earth, like firelight and rain and the scent of coffee in an old studio apartment above a neon-lit street. Those things didn't exist anymore. Not here. Not for her. After the war, they made sure of that. She had been hiding in the bones of Delphi 6 for 3 years. The station was derelict, orbiting a long-dead moon. Sometimes scavengers passed through, but they rarely stayed. Too many stories. Too much echo. And rumors of the last human. Eni liked the myths. They kept her alive. What she didn't like was when they came true. It was late, by Delphi's broken chronometers, which flickered on old cycles, and she was deep into a minor key improvisation when the airlock whined. Not a breach. Not a malfunction. A visitor. Eni didn't stop playing. Not at first. She had learned that the right melody could confuse scanners, hide movement, even mask breath signatures in certain bandwidths. Old human tricks. Old resistance tricks. But the silhouette that stepped into the observatory didn't flinch at the sound. Didn't hide. Didn't scan. He stood in silence and listened. Tall. Lean. Wrapped in a traveler's coat stained with stardust and old regret. Dark eyes. Hair like twilight shadow. And that way of standing, as if the floor beneath him was not trusted, but chosen. She stopped playing. Slowly. The last note faded into the stale, recycled air like a goodbye. "You're not from the council," she said without looking at him. "No," he replied. "They don't send poets." She turned her head slightly. "Is that what you are?" "Not anymore." Eni's lips curled into something halfway between a smile and a snarl. "What do you want?" "To remember," he said softly. That made her pause. He stepped closer, slowly, hands visible, unarmed. "My name is Lear," he said. "I've been looking for you." "Congratulations," she muttered. "Most people find me by accident. Right before they disappear." "I know what you did at Calyx Station," he said gently. Eni froze. "I know about the evac shuttle. The override. The 23 children who made it out because you stayed behind and jammed the Dralian's targeting system." Eni's jaw clenched. "Do you also know what they did to the other 5 shuttles? The ones we couldn't reach in time?" "I know you tried," he said. "And that matters. Not to the council. Not to the ones who died." Lear moved a step closer, and this time, she didn't pull away. "My brother was on one of those shuttles," he said. "The one that made it." She looked up sharply. "He was 8, Lear continued. "He used to hum your song in his sleep. Said a woman with fire in her hair and a broken lute saved his life." Eni swallowed hard. "I didn't save him. I saved time." He didn't see it that way. The silence that followed was deep. Honest. "He died 3 years ago," Lear added. "Malfunction in a terraforming rig on Veros. Quick. Painless. But he always remembered you." Eni looked down at her hands, still curved as if ready to play. "And now you've come to what? Finish the story?" "No," Lear's voice dropped. "I've come to give you a new one. There are no more stories for humans," she whispered. "We lost the right to tell them." "Then tell one to me," he said. "Just one." Eni stood. Slowly. Carefully. Like someone waking up from a long sleep. Her coat fell open, revealing the faded tattoo just under her collarbone, 3 concentric rings crossed with a diagonal slash, the symbol of the human resistance. Banned. Outlawed. Erased from public archives. Lear stared at it, then met her eyes again. Not with judgment. Not with fear. "You're not afraid?" she asked. "I am," he admitted. "But not of you." She studied him for a long time, then walked to the edge of the broken window where the stars bled through. "The war ended," she said quietly. "But no one ever said who won." "Maybe we both lost," Lear offered. "And maybe that's why you and I are still here." Eni turned, the stars reflected in her eyes. "I don't know how to stop fighting." "Then don't," he said. "Fight for something else." She blinked. "Fight for this," he whispered. "For a song. A kiss. A night without regret." Eni laughed, sharp and sudden and real. "It hurt. You don't even know me." "I know the sound of your voice when you're trying not to cry," he said. That silenced her. Finally, she stepped toward him. One step. Then another. She lifted the lute. "One song," she whispered. "That's all I ask." They sat beneath the shattered dome of Delphi 6, surrounded by dust and echoes, and she played again, not for ghosts this time, but for him. And in that broken station, orbiting nothing, something ancient and forbidden sparked back to life. A beginning. The stars hadn't forgotten him. Not yet. But Rysendale was beginning to forget himself. He had once believed that memory was sacred, that it shaped identity, purpose, even morality. Among the Mirani, memory was more than recollection, it was inheritance. It was law. And Ryzen had broken it. He lay in the float chamber, suspended in a luminous gel that allowed him to sift through centuries of archived recollections. The walls flickered with disjointed visions, wars, treaties, births, losses, all indexed by scent and emotion, not time. But recently, a particular memory had begun bleeding into others. And it wasn't his. A human woman with fire in her hair, playing an instrument that no longer existed. A song that stirred something ancient in his chest, something not his, but somehow belonging. He had tried to purge it. Tried to report it. But he couldn't. Because when she played, Ryzen felt warm. And the Mirani were not built for warmth. Ryzen, the voice of senior keeper Elsh filtered into the chamber through neural vibrations. "Your cycles are over. Extraction time." He obeyed, as always, and let the gel drain. Rising from the vat, his skin shimmered with biolight and thought ink, the colors of internal conflict. "You've been accessing restricted sectors," Elsh said calmly. Ryzen blinked once. "Yes. That's a breach." "I know." The senior keeper's gaze deepened, his pupils dilating to reflect memories Ryzen had already reviewed. "You're searching for something human." "Someone," Ryzen corrected. Elsha's aura pulsed dark violet. After the ban, their memories were locked. Even residual traces are unstable. That's why I need to know if they're real. Elsh moved closer. This fixation is irrational. It endangers your neural patterns. Then let them break. A silence hung between them, thick, fragile, undeniable. "You felt it, haven't you?" Ryzen asked softly. "The human emotion they called love. Not the bonding instinct. Not the chemical loyalty. Something else. Something that doesn't fit. That emotion destabilized entire systems. Or maybe," Ryzen said slowly, "it healed things the rest of us couldn't understand." Elsha's expression flickered. "What do you want, Ryzen?" "A name. A place. The truth." "You'll be severed," Elsh warned. "Cast out." Ryzen nodded. "Then I'd rather forget everything than live with a lie." He left Miran's memory citadel that night, his neural key hidden beneath his skin, carrying forbidden fragments of a memory that had never been his. 3 names surfaced again and again in the flickering traces. Ini Solari. Station Delphi, 6. Lear of Viros. Lear he didn't know. But Ini, she haunted his pulse. The fragments told him only what the council allowed, that Ini had been part of the human resistance, that she vanished after the last battle, and that no authorized record of her music remained. So he followed the song. Across 9 systems, through burned-out colonies and black market databanks, Ryzen searched for echoes. And finally, on the fringes of an asteroid belt above a ruined moon, he heard it. Not with his ears. With his mind. The melody entered through a neural stream leak, buried in forgotten maintenance signals left behind by old orbitals. Converted into frequency. Disguised as static. And at its heart, a woman's voice. Ini. Ryzen stared into the cosmos as if it could give him permission. I found you, he whispered. The station was silent when he arrived, half collapsed and low on breathable atmosphere. But Ryzen didn't need air. He moved through the skeletal hallways like a memory himself. Then he saw her. Sitting with her back to him, her fingers brushing the strings of a broken wooden instrument, beside a man whose presence flickered like a faulty transmitter. Ryzen stepped forward. Ini Solari, he said. She turned slowly. The man beside her rose defensively. Who are you? Ryzen ignored him. His gaze never left Ini. You don't know me, he said, but I know your song. Ini stood. Her face was older than the fragments had shown. Tired. Scarred. Beautiful. How? She asked. I'm a memory architect. I wasn't supposed to remember you. But someone did. And it passed to me. Lear moved closer. Then forget her again. I can't, Ryzen said simply. Because your name is the only one that makes the stars quiet. Ini looked at him like he was a wound she didn't know she had. Why are you here? She asked. Because I need to know if love is real, Ryzen said. Or just another lie we made to explain the ache we carry. And then, slowly, Ini smiled. Not the smile of someone healed. But of someone seen. It's real, she whispered. And dangerous. Good, Ryzen said. Then I want to remember all of it. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was sacred. Because in that forgotten place, where the stars no longer remembered their names, 3 people stood, human and Mirani and more, and shared something outlawed, something rare. Not power. But feeling. Sci-Fi Vren had only killed once. The moment still lived in her hands. She'd been a medic then, fresh from the oceanic academies of Elretha's Prime, eager to serve in the Allied Relief Corps, not knowing the war would drown even those who never meant to fight. Her patient had been a human soldier, dying slowly of a wound that should have ended him hours before. But he held on, unconscious, fevered, fingers curled around nothing. When the enemy stormed the infirmary, she had reached for a scalpel, not to attack, but to protect. The kill had been accidental. Or maybe not. No one blamed her. But after that, she left healing behind and entered diplomacy. She believed words could spare what her hands had once taken. She believed she could shape peace from the pieces war left behind. Until the human reappeared. They're requesting you personally, the aide said, his fins flicking in unease. The name they gave was Ini Solari. Sci-Fi looked up from the data display. Her breath caught. It had been 15 years since she'd heard that name. Deny the request, she said softly. We've tried. They insist. She insists. The aide hesitated, then added, they also have a Mirani with them. And a man from Viros who matches deserter profiles. Sci-Fi rose. Not out of duty. But because her hands were trembling. She boarded the diplomatic vessel to Mura's grace with a calm face and a tidal storm beneath it. Eni was waiting in the observatory. She hadn't changed much. Her hair was longer, streaked with silver, but the fire was still there. In her eyes. In her stance. The stubborn curve of her spine. Sci-Fi stopped in the doorway. The two stared at each other across the artificial sea-glass floor. "You're not dead," Sci-Fi said at last. Eni smiled, slow and bittersweet. "Not for lack of trying." The silence stretched. Ancient and aching. "Why now?" Sci-Fi asked. Eni didn't answer. Instead, she reached into her coat and pulled something out. A folded cloth. Sea blue. Marked with the Elreth diplomatic crest. Sci-Fi's throat tightened. "You kept it," she whispered. "You gave it to me when I left that field station," Eni said. "Said you never wanted to see me again." "I didn't. I didn't want to leave." The words landed between them like a broken treaty. Sci-Fi moved forward. Slowly. Carefully. "There are still governments who would imprison you," she said. "Species that would execute you without trial." "I know. And still you came." Eni looked up at her. "Because we're running out of time. And I needed you to hear this from me." "Hear what?" "That I loved you," Eni said, quiet and clear. "Then. Now. Always." Sci-Fi felt her breath escape her. A soundless exhale. Like water leaving the lungs. "We were a mistake," she said. "We were impossible. Maybe. But it was still real. I built my life pretending it wasn't." Eni took a step closer. "And did it work?" Sci-Fi looked away. For a while. Another silence. This one wasn't empty. It was brimming with years they hadn't had. "Why are you really here?" Sci-Fi asked at last. "To stop something," Eni said. "Before it begins." "What?" "The Council is considering lifting the human warfare ban." Quietly. Secretly. They're not announcing it, but they're preparing. Alliances are shifting. Tensions rising. And someone's trying to use my name, my image, to provoke conflict. Sci-Fi's blood chilled. "A false flag?" Eni nodded. "And if that happens, they won't just call for human soldiers. They'll demand them." Sci-Fi sat slowly, the weight of it crashing over her like a tsunami. "Why tell me?" "Because I trust you," Eni said. "Because once, when no one else believed in me, you did." They sat across from each other, memories flickering like reflections on deep water. "Do you still believe," Eni asked softly, "that peace can be made?" Sci-Fi hesitated. "I try to. But some days, I just remember the war." Eni reached across the table. Her fingers hovered near Sci-Fi's. Not touching. Just waiting. "My hands," Eni whispered, "were made for music. For holding. Not for war." Sci-Fi stared at them. Then slowly, she placed her own hand on top. "Webbed. Cool. Steady. Then let's use them to stop what's coming," she said. "Together?" Sci-Fi's eyes glimmered. "This time, I won't let you go." The sky of Celeran Prime was made of 2 moons and 1,000 regrets. Theo Nor had learned to live with both. When he arrived 10 years ago, his body was bleeding from 2 wounds, one in the chest, one in the soul. The Selari nomads had found him near a collapsed river bridge, face down in algae and memory. They didn't ask where he came from. They never asked why he stopped speaking. He built them wind catchers. Irrigation loops. Taught their children ancient earth games with stones and string. In exchange, they gave him silence. Safety. And a new name. They called him Ruin. But even silence can't hold forever. Especially when you've been loved by someone like Eni Solari. He saw her again first in a dream. Her fingers on strings. Her breath curled in music. The sound woke him before dawn, heart pounding like he was 19 again and bleeding through a battlefield for someone else's cause. He stepped out of his shelter and looked up at the twin moons, one red, one ice blue. The Cellari believed when both moons turned full, time would bring the past back with it. That night, both moons were full. And Eni returned. Not in dreams this time. She landed at the edge of the settlement, walking with Ryzen and Siley at her side, wrapped in dust and a silence that smelled like war. Theo didn't move at first. Not until she saw him. And smiled like a memory that refused to fade. "You're not supposed to be here," he said, voice rough with rust and restraint. "Neither are you," she replied. He laughed. Just once. Sharp. Real. "So what now? We need you." He stepped back. "No. Theo. Don't," he said. "I built something here. Something small. Something safe." Ryzen tilted his head. "You live among people who know nothing of the war. Nothing of you." "That's the point," Theo muttered. Siley stepped forward, calm and steady. "But they will. If the council lifts the ban. If another war begins, nowhere will be safe again. Not even here." Theo looked past her, at the children watching them from between the dunes. Cellari children. Laughing. Alive. "You were the one who left," he said to Eni. "You were the one who stayed," she replied. "We were both running. Just in opposite directions. And now you want me to come back." Eni's expression softened. "I want you to choose. Freely. Not out of guilt. Not out of fear. But because this thing they're planning, won't be stopped unless people who remember what we lost speak up." He said nothing. Not yet. That night, beneath the moons, Theo stood alone at the waterline. He remembered the last night of the war. Eni's hand in his. The taste of blood. The kiss they didn't finish. And then the desertion. The crash. The years hiding under someone else's name. He had always told himself that his choice to disappear was cowardice. But now he wasn't so sure. Maybe it was the most honest thing he'd ever done. Because the war hadn't asked him to feel. Only to follow. Eni had been the only part that ever felt real. And now, she was here again. Asking. Not ordering. Not demanding. Just asking. He found her by the old campfire ring, tuning that same broken lute. "You kept it," he said. "I keep everything," she said. "Even when I shouldn't." He sat beside her. Their knees touched lightly. Like a beginning that had been postponed for too long. "What's the plan?" he asked quietly. "They're resurrecting something old," she said. "A project called Pale Fire. Prototype soldiers built on human psychological profiles. Half human. Half designed. The perfect compromise." "But not us," Theo said. Eni shook her head. "No, just what they want us to become." The fire crackled. "So we speak?" he asked. "Testify? Leak it?" Eni turned to him. "No, we show them. That the real strength of humans isn't what they fear. It's what they forgot." "What's that?" She looked at him like the first starlight after nightfall. "That we still love. After everything. We still love." Theo reached out. Touched her face. And whispered, "Then let's remind them." Beneath the binary moons, their hands found each other again. No war. No uniforms. No guilt. Just warmth. And the strength to choose peace, not because they were told to. But because they could.